We're so glad. So our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the Helping Parents Heal meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are very healing to parents all over the world, and they are all posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not in our time zone can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you. That was perfect. And actually, probably the views that are expressed by our guests tonight will perfectly echo what we believe in Helping Parents Heal, since there are affiliate leaders, caring listeners, and board members. But I am so grateful to be able to have all five of you here. We're going to be starting with Lori Savoy. And Lori is a board member. She's also a caring listener, and she's been with Helping Parents Heal almost as long as anyone that I can think of. She also has her birthday on the exact same day and exact same year as me. And it was a real coincidence that we found that out. But I wish that I had the skills that she has as a medium, because I feel like she is one of the most intuitive people I know. Lori just suffered from a car accident about 4 months ago. And so we're going to get through the questions and hopefully do them without straining her brain too much. But we're really grateful she's here. The first question, Lori, is if you could tell us your child's name, how they lived, and when they changed worlds. So if you could tell us about Garrett in about 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm honored and grateful to be here. My son, Garrett Martin Savoy, was my second child, my only son. He was a handful from the minute he was born, busy, busy, busy. And in hindsight, looking back, he lived a huge life in his 19 years on Earth. So he loved the thrill of competition. He loved his family. He loved animals. He had a great sense of humor. I still talk to him from the other side, and his sense of humor is still there, which is great to hear. He got some drugs when he was about 18 years old. We tried like 100 things to help him. And inevitably, with no notice, no signs, no anything, he took his life on November 11th, 2010. Shocked our family's world, shocked our whole community's world, because people were saying, wow, if it can happen in that family, it can happen in any family. So that was my son, Garrett. He was a loving son, a great kid, and he just left Earth.
Sorry, I'm muted. That was a beautiful answer. Thank you so much, Lori. And let's move on to the next question, which is, how did you discover Helping Parents Heal? And which of the services did you use first in 1 minute?
Okay, so a friend told me about it shortly after Garrett passed in early 2011. I took a few months. I didn't jump into it like some other people that get there in 2 weeks or 2 days or what have you. About maybe 3 or 4 months later, I started going to the meetings at the Logos Center. So I have to thank my friend Betsy. I'm not even sure how she heard about it, but that would have been in probably early or mid 2011, right when it was starting. I met Lynn, Elizabeth, and Mark. Ireland were running it at the time at the Logo Center. It was quite small groups, and I just felt like I was home, and it was all of my beliefs. And so I went to in-person meetings, and that's how I got started in helping parents heal.
That's very well. I remember very clearly you coming to the first ones, but I remember first meeting for coffee before you came to any meetings. And again, exchanging driver's licenses, which was very strange, and seeing that we were both born the same day.
Yeah.
So we're soul sisters. Tell us about how you are serving as a caring listener, what motivated you to do that, and what are your strengths?
Um, Good question. I think just over the years and seeing how big the group grew and how many people needed a supporting hand and somebody who I just got it. I surrounded myself with people right away, and so I had been to many meetings and just in the meetings talking and helping people. And then when Caring Listeners started, because of course Helping Parents Heal evolved over as it got bigger and we needed it. I also got a certificate and studied in grief companioning through the Center for Loss in Colorado. So I took a bunch of classes. I had also helped at Eric's House, which is a trauma survival group. It was just starting up as well. And I ended up leaving Eric's House because my heart and soul is with Helping Parents Heal. And I just wanted to focus on everybody in our group. So through my training of grief companioning, I learned a ton of things that, I actually have a whole thing about a whole chart about you can't fix it, you can't change it, but certainly I can grab a hand and help and be there. And I basically feel like through Caring Listener, I'm a giant heart with ears because I don't need to speak a lot. A lot of people just need to tell their story.
That's
So,
beautiful. And I think that that actually came from Joyce McLaughlin, who's on here tonight. I think that's such a beautiful way of saying it, a giant heart with ears. Um, that was perfect. What have you learned about optimally sensing Garrett's living presence in maybe 2 minutes?
okay, so this is I've always felt the other side. I blocked it for a long time. I was busy with kids. I had an engineering career, which this type of thinking doesn't fit in that. When my dad passed away, I could see him in our home. When my mom passed away, I could see her. The night before my son passed away, my mother was in my dining room and she was in spirit already. And I looked at her and said, I hope you're not here for what I think you're here for. So my soul kind of knew. Um, Garrett, ironically, found a medium from heaven that contacted me, a total stranger. And through her, she had incredible messages that things I wouldn't have known. So through his passing, I knew from all of those experiences that they are simply in another world.
That's beautiful. And they are. And actually, they're still right here, too. They're at the
Oh,
same
they're still
time.
right here. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
What are the three things you wish other parents knew more deeply in 2 minutes or so?
Um, Three things. I think that I wish parents knew that it is possible to feel joy, to feel happiness, to feel good again. I kind of flip it around that if it was us that was gone, would we want our kids to be sitting so sad, so devastated? So I think that's important to me. Another thing that my son shows me a lot of times at meetings, and anybody who's been with me has heard this before, but I'm going to share it anyways. He always says, Mom, I didn't pass away. Don't keep going over it and over it in like a hamster wheel 300 times. I didn't pass away 300 times. And quite frankly, it's not even important to me. I want to be remembered for when we laughed and how I made you laugh and how we lived, not how I died. So that's I hope parents, because it's easy to get stuck on the sadness, but they want us to be totally happy and think of the happy moments. Another thing that I would like to impress on parents that what I needed, and possibly you may, is that I knew right away that I needed to surround myself with people that understood. So when I found help, because nobody wants to be in this club. And when I found Helping Parents Heal, found Elizabeth, found Mark Ireland, found Lynn Holohan, they were my people, my tribe, and I feel my son brought me to them. I also went to a spiritual counselor that helped me, and I surrounded myself with people that could help and uplift me. And that's what I hope I do also as a caring listener to others now.
You definitely do. And it's interesting because Marina is asking if you felt like you signed a soul contract with Garrett. But I think that this last question will kind of answer that. I know that your mom had said or had come to you and you realized that maybe something like this was going to happen. Were there other signs that you saw that Garrett might be transitioning?
Absolutely not.
So nothing that when he was born, you were kind of thinking, oh, he's not going to be here for very long or anything like that. That's very
No.
interesting.
But I, in hindsight, looking back, that kid did more stuff than, I mean, he didn't eat food or sleep till he was 2 years and 4 months old. So I perfected the F word in the middle of the night because that kid did not have time to sleep. So looking back on his life, he lived on earth for 19 years. He packed a lot in 19 years. So, but at the time, Elizabeth, no, I never had that feeling that he's going to leave early. However, my oldest daughter, right after it happened, reminded me and said to me, Mom, you always knew. You knew he wasn't going to be on earth for very long.
That's a
So apparently I must have, but when it happened, I had blocked all that out.
It's amazing. Well, that's wonderful answers to all of those questions. Thank you so much, Lori, for doing this with us. I know that it's stressful and difficult when you
No,
have
I'm good.
different things that are going on, but we are so proud of you for healing so well. And thank you for being the first person to speak. And the second person, go ahead and let me know who the second person was. It's Jamie. Okay, I see Jamie in the chat box. So Jamie, if you could unmute, please, I'd love to speak with you. So Jamie is affiliate leader from Las Vegas, and she's held many in-person meetings so far. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more about you and your motivation for being an affiliate leader for Helping Parents Heal. So could you tell us your child's name, how they lived, and when they changed worlds in about 2 minutes or so?
Hi, everyone. I'm humbled and honored to be here. I'm a newbie. I've only been an affiliate leader for 45 months. So I'm a work in progress, but I'm happy to share my experience. Devin was the second oldest of my four boys, and he was an avid sports fan. He played baseball and football and just was good at everything. He enjoyed playing golf with his dad. When he was in college, he worked at a ski resort and was a good snowboarder. He got his Eagle Scout, so he was good at camping. He was a good boy. He was a good son. He was a good friend. He was a good brother. And he had a great sense of humor, and I still feel him kind of laughing and trying to make me laugh. But he's since told me that he felt awkward and didn't really feel like he fit in this world. And he ended his own life on September 27th in 21. He was 24, and we were not expecting it. It caught us totally off guard. He has since told me that it was just an impulsive decision, and like Lori said, it doesn't matter how he passed. He's telling me it's what's in the present now.
Exactly. It's just an exit point. And no matter how he transitioned, it would have probably happened sometime soon after. So anyway, I love the name Devin. I think it's so interesting because there aren't very many Devins that we know of. But obviously Lynn's son's name is Kevin as well. So I'm sure that they're having a blast together. How did you discover Helping Parents Heal, and which of their services did you first use in about 1 minute or so?
I was given a book from my sister-in-law. I was given Paige Lee's book, Choose to Believe. And it wasn't that I didn't believe. I knew that our loved ones were in heaven. My parents have passed. I have two sisters that are in heaven, and I knew that where they were and I was going to see them again. But when a child, my son, left, it was, wow, how am I going to survive this? Not only how am I going to survive, but I need to have an ongoing relationship with him. So the back of the book, it has Helping Parents Heal's resources. So I found Helping Parents Heal. I enjoyed watching the post. And then I found Suzanne and just enjoyed her meditation, her teaching of meditation. I went to her classes and her workshops, and I joined the Zoom groups. I joined Janine's moving forward through suicide, after suicide group. So I found it a lifeline. It was Helping Parents Heal was a lifeline for me.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, I'm really glad that you found us and that you're now giving back by doing these meetings, which is really exciting. Tell us about how you are serving as an affiliate leader. What motivated you to do that, and what your strengths are in about 2 minutes or so.
I to search for groups. There was nothing here. I had the hardest time finding an in-person group here, and the ones I went to left me feeling worse. And when I went, I was able to attend the Helping Parents Heal conference in 2022, and it had just been less than a year. But I found this group of people that were happy and laughing and enjoying life. And I was like, these are my people. I want to be like them. And then I saw that there were groups from their hometowns, that had come as a group. And I just knew at some point I needed to bring that to Las Vegas. And I wanted to I just think that Devin guided me to Helping Parents Heal, and he's been pushing me to be a leader. And even I've seen Michelle Claire, and she said, Devin said, start this group soon. And it took me a little while to get over my grief, but I feel it was in my path. So
that's so beautiful. I'm so glad you were at the conference, and the person on your screen next to you is the person who made 900 gifts for everyone at the conference. So Lori not only is our board member and a caring listener, but she made all of those incredible gifts, both for the first conference and for the second conference. I'm pretty sure it might not be possible for the third because of the fact that it, with everything that she's dealing with, it's very hard, but we are also appreciative of that as well. Moving on from that, what have you learned about optimally sensing Devin's presence? In maybe 2 minutes or so, have you learned anything that you feel you could share with others?
I think it started with meditation, because I didn't really realize you could meditate to connect with the other side until after my son passed through Suzanne Giesman. Realizing once you can quiet your mind and quiet your environment and then recognize the energy. Once I was able to feel his energy, I get emotional when I feel him near, because I know he brings the love, they bring the love. They just want you to know how much they love you and they're there for you. So that, and then the signs, the validation of the signs. I've been able to, I call it the sign game with Devin, and through meditation and talking to him, I can say, can you bring me a sign today? Can you bring me whatever pops into my head? And he brings it. And I have so many signs, and just validating them and recording the signs makes them happen more. I think that's it.
That's wonderful. And I know Marina's asking questions. We don't really have time for questions tonight, but there are some fabulous meditations that are free of charge on Suzanne Giesman's website. And I think that obviously Jamie was talking about Suzanne Giesman, so you can download those and actually listen to them and be able to start by doing a guided meditation and then maybe just meditating yourself, doing it by yourself after that. Let's see. What are the 3 things that you wish other parents knew more deeply? And I'm sure you have some wonderful things to share with us.
I think this group is wonderful. I just want to bring all of the resources that you guys have provided to other parents. I just kind of want to scream, there's so much there, from the books to the videos to the, you can follow the vetted mediums. I have been grateful. Devin's reached out through so many wonderful mediums to share his messages. So I would like to tell everybody that we're spirits having a human experience, and this is going to just be this time on Earth is just a moment in time. We're eternal, and just kind of remember that we'll see them again. They're with us. They're watching over this. Their life stories here on Earth have ended, but ours haven't. So let's make them proud. Let's help each other get through this journey, and knowing that our children are with us.
So beautiful. Yes. And these are our Earth suits, and we're going to graduate, and it's going to be like a blink of an eye from the last time that we saw our kids. And they get to interact with us as much as they want to. It's harder for us because a lot of us don't necessarily feel them the way that you do, Devin, but I'm so glad that you do. And I wish that for every single parent, because it is a wonderful thing to know that they're with us every step of the way. And the last question is, did you have any idea, any belief or knowing that that Devin was going to pass? Did he maybe let you know ahead of time somehow? I know that it's very similar to Lori, that you had no idea, but from the time he was born, maybe anything different?
I had to convince my husband to have the 4th child, because I was like, what if something happens to one of my kids? And then growing up, I just thought, like, my fear was something would happen and I would lose one of them. So I kept them close. And because of that, we did a lot together. And then we have a lot of memories because of that. But my oldest son went through a bad, rough patch in his life and became a drug addict. He was addicted to drugs for a long time. And I always thought it's going to be him, And he recovered, he's sober, he's doing wonderful. And I think I just kind of put that thought behind me and was like, we're safe. And then Devin left, and I remembered that I had that feeling, like I just didn't realize it was going to be him. But I do feel like Devin left for the growth of my soul and our family's souls. I feel like he left for us. So
that is beautiful. And you're right. I mean, every single thing that they do helps us become better people, more compassionate, more loving. And that's just a beautiful way of putting it. Thank you so much, Jamie. This has been wonderful. And we're excited that you are now our affiliate leader in Las Vegas. If anybody's in Las Vegas visiting to see a show or something, make sure that you're there during the time that she's having her meetings. And then let's see. So Margaret is next. Margaret, can you unmute? Margaret has also been with our group for quite some time, but she wasn't with our group for quite some time as well. And when she did start coming to our group meetings, all of a sudden her son Kenny just came through all the time. Every single person that was speaking was bringing Kenny through, and Kenny had been wanting to speak to her for a very long time, apparently. But anyway, she's an affiliate leader now, and she is leading a group of single parents. And so I am very excited about this, and I would love to be able to start asking questions of you as well. And first, to start with, obviously, if you could just tell us about Kenny, how he lived and how he transitioned.
So my son Kenny transitioned on October 29th, 2004. So I'm coming into the 20th year. He was 23. So I keep thinking I have 3 more years before he will have been gone on here on Earth as long as he's been gone. So, but it's just a number. So Kenny was my firstborn child and was very different from the beginning. He would, I'd have him in his little baby seat and he'd be staring up and laughing, and he saw things and felt things. And I knew he saw the world differently. He was just a different kid. And I even felt then how lucky I was to be his mom. Just really a cool kid. He was headed home from work one night on his motorcycle, and a garbage truck pulled out in front of him, one of those dumpsters that empties the dumpsters at night. He was going from one driveway to the other at a shopping center, and he took up all 3 lanes, and Kenny was in the far lane. And I mentioned this because on impact, he went into the oncoming traffic. Fortunately, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, so there wasn't any traffic. But for 10 years before I came to Helping Parents Heal, I was haunted by the thought of him in the road by himself. I couldn't get it out of my head. It was all I thought about, all I dreamed about. It just tortured me. I felt like that's how I was going to live the rest of my life. Always thinking he was there alone. He must have been scared. I knew he was reaching out for me. So I'm going to jump into how I first found Helping Parents Heal.
Okay, that's fine. No problem.
Because for 10 years, there was nothing. I sat in a world of waiting to die because I needed to be with him. My mom heart wanted to be with my boy. So somehow this event came up on my Facebook feed for Suzanne Wilson, medium. Now, I've never been to mediums, whatever. And it was at a place not too far from my house. And I thought, I'll go. I mean, I wasn't even thinking I was going to see Kenny. I just thought, I'll go. So I get there, and the place is standing room only. And I walk up, and everybody, they're saying standing room only, but you can wait in the hall. There was this big room, and the hall was packed. And on my way out the door, there was a last door. It would have been the back end of the meeting room. And I opened the door thinking there's got to be a seat back here somewhere. And I hear this, Margaret. And I'm like, and it's noisy. And again, Margaret. And I'm like, I didn't know anybody that was even going to be there. I didn't even know what this was. And then again, and now I look over, and it's Lisa Wilcoxon. And let me explain. Lisa's son, Anthony, was best friends with my son, Kai, who's just walked past me. They were friends in school, and Lisa's, son, Anthony, passed away, but Kai is still very close to her. So there she was. And I was like, what? And she said, there's a seat here. So I sat down, and like I said, I'd never seen mediums. And Suzanne starts, and she starts describing. I wasn't even paying attention. And someone in the hall said, that's my son. And she's talking to that person, and then says, no, this isn't the connection. And she keeps speaking. And then Lisa hits me and says, that's Kenny. And I was like, huh? I wasn't even paying attention. And the more she talked, the more I realized it was Kenny. Anthony had brought Kenny to this meeting. And Anthony would bring him for a couple of more months, I guess, until Kenny figured out how to do it. but that was my first experience with Helping Parents Heal. And so, and it was 10 years ago when we were meeting monthly, and it was maybe 12 or 15 people, and we were passing around the talking stick and telling our story. And it was different for me because every other group I'd been through to was telling me, move on, he's in a better place, all that stuff. And my mom soul wouldn't let me move on and leave my poor boy behind. So here I am at Helping Parents Heal. That's how I started.
And we don't have to leave them behind. And I just
I have to leave them behind. I tell everybody that.
it keeps coming through over and over and over again. It's always wonderful to hear from Kenny. So tell us a little bit about how you're serving as an affiliate leader, what motivated you to do that, and what your strengths are.
So I started the Helping Parents Heal Single Parents Hopeful Hearts group because I noticed there was a big difference in how I was going through this journey as opposed to my friends who had husbands. It was very different for me. I felt like I didn't have support. And so I'd been thinking about it for a while. It's not, by the way, it's not a dating group. Everybody says that. Is that a dating group? No. So I was discussing it with Lisa, and at some point Lisa was like, yeah, but so what if I have Rick kind of thing? And then um, we had watched some movie somewhere where in the movie a child had died and the father had spoken to the coroner, so the mother wouldn't have to. And she asked Rick, who talked to the coroner? And he said, I did. And she said, I don't even remember that. And I said, so you see, I had to do all of that, everything. There wasn't anyone that was stepping in for me. There was no one. I did everything. I didn't get a break at night when I was breaking down and someone would hold me or bring me tea or whatever. It was all alone. So we start this group, and what I'm finding is there are also grandmothers who are taking care of their grandchildren because their daughter's gone or son is gone or whatever. So it's been a real nice group. And most recently, somebody finally asked the question, what do I do about dating? And I'm like, okay, we're moving along now. Yay, yay, yay. So that's the group. Um, I'm I'm there, I guess, because I'm real good at connecting people and bringing people together.
You are. You're wonderful at bringing people together. And I am excited about, I hadn't ever really thought about that, but it's true that especially when a child transitions, there's a lot to do, and there are a lot of different roles that we have to play that we've never had to before, never wanted to, never will want to ever again. And a single parent does have to do all of those functions, be a part of all of those roles. And so thank you for doing this for single parents. What have you learned about optimally sensing Kenny and his living presence?
Okay, so of course I get signs. Before Kenny transitioned, I had abilities. I could time travel. I could manifest. I had like some superpowers, but when he transitioned, I lost touch with all of that. I felt like it was there, but it wasn't accessible to me anymore. So you guys know Sue Frederick. And of course I started getting signs and stuff too, and that made me feel really good. But last year I did a session with her, and we actually talked about our purpose together. And it changed the way the whole way I saw what I'm going through with Kenny. And let me say this, she explained to me what our purpose was together. And what turns out is we're partners, and I'm on a mission, and he is helping me further that mission. There's some big things coming up in our partnership. And every day he helps me. And I don't just mean the signs. I mean, there's crazy stuff like I will leave the house in a hurry and realize I don't have my sunglasses on and I can't drive without my sunglasses. So I'll turn around and come back. And I have real bad asthma and come back and grab my sunglasses. And right next to my sunglasses is the inhaler I forgot. I would have never realized it. He does stuff like that all the time. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Kenny, because he's always my partner. I say he has my back, but we're on a mission together. And it became very clear after I had that session with Sue, and I was real grateful for that. But yeah, so that's what we're doing.
That's beautiful. And yeah, it's wonderful to speak to Sue about these things because she does give you a lot of insight. Uh, let's see, what are the three things that you wish that other parents would know more deeply who are starting this journey?
Yes, so because I talk about helping parents heal on my regular Facebook page and people know, I often have people say, can you reach out to, even for instance, last year, one of my good friends said, there was a mom, her daughter, she says, committed suicide just before school started, and she doesn't know what to do. Can you just reach out to her? And I'm like, I don't know her. How am I supposed to reach out to her? But I do that often. People will reach out to me and say, could you reach out to this person? So one of the first things I tell them is join the group first. You don't have to speak. You don't have to engage. Just join the group. Because one of the most important things I tell them is there's nothing that you have been through that someone in the group hasn't experienced. Nothing you can say, oh my God, this happened, because somebody else will say, that happened to me too. And let me tell you what happened, how I dealt with it, how I lived through it. So when you join the group, once you get the courage to tell your story, you will see 100, 200 moms, dads come in and say, we're here for you. So the first thing I do is always say, join the group. The second thing I do is I tell them to not avoid their feelings. They're scary, they're thick, they're everywhere. It feels like your chest is closing in on you, but the feelings are, I'm going to get a little woo-woo here. The feelings are the confirmation of the pure energy that you share with your child. It's pure energy. It's so much love and so much pain, but it's like an energy ball and it's in your body. So bring it out, whatever you need to do, whether it's grounding exercises, dance, listen to music, cry, whatever you need to do is to feel the feeling. The last thing is, Kenny talks to me quite a bit. So I asked him to help me with this one. And he says, when you lean in, that's where you're closest to your child. And once you know you are not alone, that's where you begin to see your signs. And the world is clear and the energy is pure. And you become highly aware of all the energy that surrounds you like a superpower. You were chosen to spread this pure energy.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Margaret. I love that. Yes. And doing this together as a superpower with our kids.
Like a superpower.
Yes.
It's like I'm at a point, and I don't talk about this that often because I'm further along, where I realized my son's transition was a gift. It was a gift.
Well, and that's hard for people who are new on this journey to hear, but it's true that after we understand that they're still with us and that they are in a fabulous place and that we're still here learning the different things we need to learn, it does, and every single day for me as well seems like a gift.
Yes.
So what is your belief or knowing about Kenny's transition? Did you think that this was going to happen beforehand, or was it something that was completely a surprise?
No, I didn't think that we were going to have an exit point at that time. However, I did have what's called a shared death experience with him. At the time of the accident, my phone rang. And back then, you had the landline phones at your house, and there was a little screen that would bring up the caller ID, how lucky you were, because that was a new thing back then. But at the time of the accident, the phone rang and it said unknown name, unknown number. It was 3:30 in the morning. And I picked it up, hello, hello, hello. And I'm like, who's calling me at 3:30? And I kind of sat there and listened, and I thought I heard something. And then I hung it up, and an hour and a half later, the police called and said he'd been in an accident. And it wasn't until I saw the police report and put the time together did I realize that there he was. So all those years I was so tortured, my poor boy was there all alone. He had reached out to me.
That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. And he wasn't tortured at all. His
Wasn't tortured.
his
He's
soul
gone.
body long before he ever
gone. Right. He was gone. He wasn't sitting there so scared. He was gone. So many mediums told me that he was gone before impact.
That you wouldn't know that until you start learning about all of this. And I'm just so glad that you're part of Helping Parents Heal. And I'm grateful that you've started this new group. Thank you, Margaret. And from Margaret, we're going on to Andrea Corey, who I know all of you know and love because she does sound healing for all of us once a month. And she is so good about making sure that it gets on the calendar. She is so wonderful about wanting to help others be able to heal through sound. And not only that, she's a Shining Light parent, and she has a beautiful story about Chloe. So let's start by talking about Chloe, if that's okay, Andrea.
Sure, sure. Don't we all love to talk about our kids? I never get tired talking about Chloe. And that's one thing a lot of people don't realize, that we love to talk about our children and we love them to talk about our children. I love to hear stories about Chloe, things I didn't know. But yeah, Miss Chloe transitioned. I call her Miss Chloe because, you know, she has all this attitude. And the attitude she had when she was here with me is, she comes through so often with that same attitude. So she transitioned in February of 2016. And I was really, really blessed. I was running a business and I was working like crazy. And I sold my business in March of 2015. And I finally had time to live. I put a knapsack on my back and I was in Italy, and I get a phone call that you have to come home. I had 1 month free. You have to come home. Chloe is sick. And so I came home, and from April 2015, I was able to spend every moment with Chloe. And I never would have been able to do that if I had still been running my business. So I took care of her at the end of her life. She had cancer. And I was actually amazed that she was hanging on so long. And Chloe and I used to talk a lot telepathically, because for a long time she would just lie in the hospital bed and not be able to speak. So I would talk to her and she would answer me. And one day I asked her, I said, Chloe, why are you hanging on so long? And she said to me, Mom, I'm doing it for you, so you can get the experience of what palliative care is like, and you can learn to appreciate this amazing care. And it's true. I really was blown away by this whole family, whole person care. I had no experience with it at all. And the night that Chloe passed, I was in the hospital that day, and the nurse said to me, no, she's not going to leave tonight. And I'm like, okay. So I said, all right, I'll go home. And about midnight, I woke up and I went back to the hospital, and I went in her room, and she had been completely like in a coma for days, not talking, not moving. And there she was sitting up, and I could hear her say to me, Mom, leave the room. I said, oh, okay. So I went to sleep in a chair in the hallway. And about 2 hours later, I was woken up. I was hit in the chest. It was like a tsunami of joy that hit me. And I knew that it was done. And sure enough, it was. And I went back in the room and she said, thanks, Mom. You being calm helped me so much. And that began our conversation, and it just kept going from there.
That's amazing. And so, yes,
Mm,
do channeled writing with Chloe.
that's
And
right.
not only do you do channeled writing with Chloe, but you've also written a book about the Ottawa group and Patty May's group that you met with as well, and the stories of the children in that group as well. And
That's
both
right. That's right.
downloadable. And I will make sure that we get that into the chat box so that people can take advantage of that. But it's a rather extraordinary story, and obviously it sets you on a journey to learn how to heal others, which is wonderful, as well as yourself. Um, but tell us about how you first learned about helping parents heal and maybe what services you used first. Was it going to the Ottawa meeting with Patty May?
Well, that's right. That I actually wrote a book with Chloe and experienced all this conversation with her across the veil before I even knew about helping parents heal. But even with that, even with so many signs and so much conversation and so much communication, I needed to talk to other people. And just a bit of Googling online, I actually found that there was a group in Ottawa, which is about a 2 hour drive away from where I live. And I would get in my car once a month, drive 2 hours, stay for 3, and drive back for 2. And nothing would stop me. There was no way I wasn't going to go. And that was incredibly healing. And I was amazed because even though I knew Chloe was around, I knew she was flourishing. I mean, I asked her, what are you doing? And she would tell me. I still needed to be with other people who knew what I was living. And so one Sunday, Shannon, hi Shannon was there. And the conversations around the dining table at Patty May's house in Ottawa were so extraordinary. I said, Patty, can I record this? I asked everybody, can we turn this into a book? Because it was the book that I needed, that I was looking for, that I didn't have when Chloe passed. Because you really are asking yourself, what kind of blueprint do I have to get through this? And so I started recording the conversations, and yeah, it became a book. And so this one is my first book, and everybody can always ask me for a book. I am always giving books for free, and I have the PDFs. Everybody is welcome. This is my lovely Chloe, and this is the first book that we wrote together, and really, it's a total divine gift. I'm still amazed. I didn't even want to write it. I felt lazy. I felt too heartbroken. She's the one who pushed me to do it. But the second book, it was a group in Ottawa, and I didn't need a push. There were just so many beautiful moms there talking about their kids. And this was the second book, and it's called Magical Thinking Not. Because one of the moms, she would undergo these psychological evaluations to see how she was doing. And she showed me one day one of the reports from the psychologist who said, well, this woman claims that she can hear her children. And although she doesn't really display any other psychotic behavior, we do believe that this magical thinking, will go away with time. And I read that and I thought, oh boy, there's a lot of education that needs to happen. And that was even further push to write that second book.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And I have the information about the two books in the chat box, as well as your email, where people can email you to get downloadable PDF, the PDF of the books that you have, as well as your Zoom links to sound sessions and things like that. So tell us a little bit about what you have to offer as an AL, as our sound healer, what motivated you to do it, and what your strengths are.
Okay. Well, I started meditating in 1992, and we started in silence, and it was so tough until my teacher brought in the first crystal bowl. But that's a long time ago, 1992. And it was only Miss Chloe who pushed me. After she left, she said, "Mom, you've got to come out of the closet and start offering this to other people." And so I do. And I've learned that if there's one thing that really helps us in life, it's really to develop that inner resilience. And there's a lot of ways to do it. But when you still the mind and you just listen and get strong through just being still, you can handle almost anything. So I started doing sound for people with cancer because I've been on the cancer journey. I started doing sound for people with mental illness because I have a son that suffers. And I started doing sound for the parents from Helping Parents Heal. And it's just been a beautiful journey. There's something about the crystal. Today I spent 4 hours on my feet, no lunch, no water, no bathroom breaks, nothing, doing sound in a college for college kids who had never experienced these high vibrations, and they were blown away. And I thought, imagine if we had all known at the age of 16, 17, that you could still the mind by just breathing in and breathing out. So it's a beautiful journey, and I really have to thank, I thank Chloe every day. So many things would never have come to pass. There was something that you said, Margaret, it so touched a nerve with me when you talked about doing this journey alone. I did too. And it was tough. And I remember a moment when at the funeral home, they said, you have to come and just identify the body to make sure before we cremate. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. And Chloe cracked the biggest joke. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at her and she's telling me this unbelievably crazy joke in my head. And I start laughing and I say, Chloe, how am I going to explain to the funeral director of the joke you just told me? So of course I had to pretend that I wasn't laughing, but that's actually been a huge part of the journey, is to have her along with me every step of the way. And so, you can say on one hand, I've been alone, but you know what, Margaret? We've never been alone. We've never been alone.
Our kids are with us every step of the way. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
love hearing those crystal bowls. It's just so interesting how they immediately just wash through you and make you feel so calm. And it's true to remember to breathe.
Yeah.
But I always love hearing about Chloe. What a beautiful thing for her to crack you up when you were
Yeah.
having the
Yeah.
hardest moment of your life. That's beautiful. So, what have you learned about optimally sensing, Chloe? And
Oh,
I guess that there's so much that you've learned, it might be difficult to abbreviate it, but could you just tell us about?
well, I asked her this morning as I woke up, such a beautiful time, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Your thoughts are so clear. I said, just give me a line. What would you really like me to share? And she said, Mom, spirit time. I said, okay, I get it. Really, things operate on spirit time. We think we control and, we look at the clock and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but it's really spirit time that manages things. So if you feel, for instance, that it's not happening fast enough, or you haven't heard from your child, and how come they don't speak to me, or how come I don't meditate enough and I feel I can't meditate or I can't sit still, just remember that things operate on spirit time. So be patient with yourself. That's one of the big things that I learned. One of the other things I learned was to cultivate this new relationship. Like we have a bench that I go to, and it's like, Chloe, I'll see you 10 o'clock at the bench. And she knows, and she comes to this bench, and some of the most amazing things have happened when I have sat down at this bench. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's amazing. And I'm wondering, are you rustling paper or something? Because you have such a huge microphone
Okay, I do.
that I probably can hear it more than anyone else when they're speaking. But that is beautiful about the bench. And in fact, that's another thing that people can do when they're wanting a dream visit, is to just tell your children where you want to meet them and at what time. And at the bench, for instance, or on
Yeah,
our boat. I frequently would tell Morgan, I want to meet you on the boat. And that helps us to meet them in our dreams as well. But what you're saying is true. We can meet them wherever we want to. We just ask them. And
that's right. And but they're busy too, doing their thing. So it's actually, it's nice to make an appointment because they're not always, you just don't want to sort of, I never want to be a pain, you know. I never want to be like needy and difficult and be asking her all the time to come. So it's nice to have sort of, you make an appointment and then you get together. Yeah.
that's beautiful. So also, I wanted to find out from you what 3 things you would tell parents who are early on this journey about our healing journey, and what Chloe would tell them as
Mm.
well.
Well, I know it's a really tough journey, but you know, actually, I think also that Lori said it at the beginning, was that focus on remember the good, remember the love, remember the good, remember the love. It's like sometimes we are so deep in our grief, we just get caught up in that. And they really, really want us to remember the love. I think one of the keys for me is to still the mind. Really take the time. Do it as much as you can, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. Do it every day. Cultivate the habit of getting still. And remember, we don't have all the answers from this perspective. We're only seeing the immediate space. We're not seeing the bigger picture. And really it helps when you go up to 10,000 feet and see what is really going on. Yeah.
Like that,
You
10,000
know,
feet.
Chloe told me one day, she said, Mom, if you knew how much we're all around you, you'd be bumping into us all the time.
That's for sure. I think that you're right. And I bump into a lot of kids in this house all the time. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
that's beautiful advice. And then the last question, before we get to Louise, is did you know in your heart of hearts that she might transition early, that Chloe might transition early?
Yes, I did. I always expected Chloe to pass at 19. I don't know why, but I always expected her to pass at 19, and she did at 28. And I even remember asking her about it, and she's like, yeah, that was a possibility, but I decided to stay longer because I wanted to do this and this and this, because we all have multiple exit points that are possible to us in our lives. And so she chose a later date. But I always had that feeling. And I also had had a premonition about us in another life where we were sisters. And it had been very difficult, and I had not done my duty properly, and I had not taken care of her properly as I should to the end of her life. And I knew that. And so I told her, I said, in this life, I will be there for you. I will take care of you till your last breath. And I was able to do that.
That's beautiful. Oh
Mm.
my goodness. Thank you for sharing, Chloe, with us. And thank you for sharing your beautiful energy or your sound healing every month. And there's going to be, the next one is going to be on the 14th of February, which is
Mhm.
Valentine's Day. So it's going to be a
Yep.
special Valentine's Day healing. If anyone is in and wants to join Andrea, she also did one both the past years on Christmas Eve, which is pretty incredible. A day that lots of people are busy, lots of us aren't though. And so it's
It's a
really
tough
wonderful.
one. Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to move on from Andrea. Thank you so much, Andrea and Chloe, to Louise. So Louise, are you ready to answer some questions about Jillian?
I am.
Wonderful. So could
Yeah.
you just tell us about Jillian, about how she lived and how she passed?
She lived 100%. She was here for a good time, not a long time. She was very, very intuitive, came out an old soul. Started telling me when she was about 4 that she wasn't going to live to be an adult. Didn't know how yet, but just kind of would randomly talk about it. I took her to counselors and they said, well, she doesn't seem to be upset about it, so just go with the flow. So we did. Loved old people, loved babies, loved underdogs, did not tolerate bullies, and would start pranks. And she was just full of life. She was a cheerleader. She was a gymnast. Had lots of friends. She correctly predicted her death and the manner. About a month before she died, we were driving down the road. I was driving and I did a U-turn and she grabbed my arm and said, this is how it's going to happen, Mom. And I said, what? And she said, the car accident I'm going to die in. It's going to happen on a turn. I'm going to get hit in the side. I hope my face isn't messed up. Will you take me to Tanner when I'm dead? And I'm like, what? And she goes, weekend at Bernie's, Mom. We'll just go in. Nobody will know. So that was her sense of humor. She picked out her casket 9 weeks before she died. She wrote us letters 2 days before she died and left them on her dresser, thanking us for being good parents. And she was the passenger in a car accident. Her best friend was driving and survived, and Jilly was killed instantly at the age of 19. And that happened 2 days after the notes on her dresser. The morning that she died, I woke up at 6 o'clock and didn't know why. That turned out to be the time of the accident or close to it. And on the way, we didn't know she was gone yet. And she had spent the night at a friend's house. And she had actually drawn the scene of the accident in art class when she was a junior in high school. And it had the car hitting a gas can. They hit a gas main. The car was in a dump, and the accident was kitty corner from a dump. And over in the far corner was the Twin Towers with an airplane flying into them. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? That's not November 19th. I didn't understand the connection. The last kids she spent the night with were twins whose birthday was September 11th. And she drew that 2 years before she died.
Oh my gosh. Louise, I've never heard that story. That's just amazing. And it's validation to all of us that this is
Yes.
part of our soul plan, right?
Yep. And you flip the drawing over and it says, I'm in a box. And I didn't find that for 2 years after she went home when I finally went into her room and was, trying to clear out the closet and pulled out the dresser and that picture was back there. I'd never seen it. So that was a confirmation for me that she knew she had it planned. On the way to the scene, I was driving and they called me and told me that she was gone. And I heard her right here in my ear saying, it's okay, Mom. I jumped. I didn't feel a thing. It looked like one of those shows, Wise Guy or whatever they call it, where they do just crazy, stupid stuff and you cringe watching it, but you know that it doesn't hurt you to watch it. It hurts the person going through it. But she never felt anything. She just said she jumped and she was out of her body and that was it. And she proceeded to find a gal in California within 3 days that I didn't know from Adam, who contacted me and told me what happened. And some of the things that she said at the time didn't make sense, but in the past year have played out, and now I understand them completely because the story wasn't done back in 2011. So yeah, she's very good at communicating with me. And one of the first things that person from California said is she told me to tell you that she jumped, and I said, yeah, I know, I got that part of the conversation. But I started writing a book with her. I started journaling and writing a book. And one of our mottos at her funeral was, if life throws bricks at you, pick them up and build something with them. So we did. We did. And I wrote a book with Jilly right here. She drew the cover, actually. And
it's on
yep,
our recommended reading as well.
yep. And she drew the cover, and that's how I got introduced to Helping Parents Heal. My editor at the time said, "Hey, there's this group called Helping Parents Heal. I think you should go to their conference." And that was back in 2018. And when I went, I knew I was home. And I knew that's what I wanted to bring back to Michigan, because nobody talked about it here. And I knew a disproportionate number of people that had lost kids at that point. And since Jilly's passed, that number is in the almost 100. So, yeah.
So great that you are. And I didn't introduce you as the affiliate leader of our Coldwater, Michigan group, and I should have, and I'm sorry. I was just too excited to hear about Jillian. But that is one of the most amazing stories, Louise. I am just, oh my goodness gracious. That, along with the transition of your mother a few years ago, which is also something really beautiful and also just so poignant. You've answered a few questions at the same time, which is really exciting. So you found out about Helping Parents Heal at the conference and through your editor, which is wonderful. So, and then you've also talked to us about why you're serving as an AL and what your strengths are, obviously. Could you maybe expand on your strength if you'd like to, of being an affiliate leader?
Well, I'm a nurse, so compassion and healing are just part of who I am. I'm trying not to be a fixer. So like I said, there's so many people in this area, and there's nowhere for them to talk about. So the funeral home director was Jillian's godmother, and she kind of suggested that I start this grief group, and she's lent me the spot to it. And they have me on speed dial. When a kid dies in the community, she calls me and says, "Will you reach out to?" And I do. I reach out to all kinds of people, whether I know them or not, and just invite them into the fold. And most of them say, "I don't want to be a part of your stinking group." And I said, "Nobody does, but the people that are in it are the most amazing, wonderful people you could ever hope to meet."
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And then, what have you learned about optimally sensing Jillian, which I think you've already shown that she's very, very, she's a good communicator, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. She is a great communicator. She isn't dead to me. Her body is. I was there for that, but she is not dead. I felt her with me from day one, and she's never gone away. She sends me winks that are just over the top and fit with her sense of humor. She just transformed. She started leaving quarters right away. Like, from the time of the accident, she uses monarch butterflies, which we now raise in her honor. She even hijacked my mom's TV at the nursing home, playing an inappropriate show that she thought was hilarious, that was very much in her sense of humor, and the nursing staff couldn't get the TV to shut off even when they unplugged it, so they had to throw a blanket over it. But it was totally her sense of humor, so, and very inappropriate.
That's adorable. Oh my goodness. Also, what three things would you say to these people that you contact? What are the three things that you say that you think that they should know early on in their journey?
I usually contact them right away and tell them, get a fingerprint, because you may want that for a thumbie later. This is a thumbie. It's Jilly's first day and last day. And most funeral homes don't know about that. So a thumbprint is very important. A lock of hair, if that's appropriate. If you're burying, buy enough plots so you can be near your child. So Mr. Smith isn't in, next to your child when you want to be there. If you're cremating, urns are cheaper on Amazon. Take pictures. It's okay to take pictures if that's appropriate. And have somebody be your person, because it's so much to remember and your mind is so foggy for a while. I think whoever invented sticky notes must have been a grieving parent. And grief is physically painful. And as a nurse, I see a lot of broken heart syndrome. It actually exists. So self-care is huge. If you can find a grief buddy that will call you up and say, hey, have you showered today? Or have you showered in the past 3 days? All those things are so important. And we aren't keeping our kids from something by having them with us. That's their choice. We're not keeping them from moving on or going to the light or whatever. We are now their job. Jilly told me that her death was the pebble in the pond, and it's my job to finish the assignment.
That's beautiful. Yes, they don't mind being with us because they can be in more than one place at the same time too. So,
Yeah.
and I know that they really love being with us, but I think that one of the most important things for our kids is to know that we are happy, healthy, and whole just as they are. So that's their goal. They never feel sad because we aren't, and we can take as long as we want to heal. But that's ultimately what they want to see us being and doing.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Louise. And then the last one is, did you know? I guess Jilly knew.
Jilly
Oh,
knew.
she definitely knew. But did you have any feeling that she was going to transition early?
I always thought it was going to be me at the age of 19. I didn't think I would live past the age of 19, which was my favorite number since the time I was little. And Jilly was 19 and died on the 19th. So yes, I mean, I remember standing at the gurney at the accident scene going, I always knew she wouldn't stay. And the officer, I'm sure, was like, what? But she was smirking at me. Just like, your daughter Andrea, she was smirking at me like, gotcha. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. I am so grateful to you and to everyone who is on here tonight, as well as to all of our affiliate leaders and caring listeners and our board members. I feel like every single story is so compelling and so wonderful. And I can't imagine that these stories aren't going to be helping others to understand that they can move forward and heal. Just listening to all of you and understanding that there is a life after having our children transition. Obviously, they're not gone. They're still here.
Mm-mm.
Just don't have their earth suits, um, and we unfortunately have to slog along and be here for a while. We've got a lot of things to learn, but it doesn't have to be sad. It isn't
No,
sad for a lot of us. So
no.
anyway, Lynn is saying thank you in the chat box. Would you like to say something, Lynn? Just because we haven't heard anything from you, I'd love to have you say something.
No, I'm blown away by all of you that are here tonight and by all the parents we've had. And thank you to Elizabeth for conducting this tonight. And just love you guys and glad to be a part of this group.
Thank you. And I am excited that we're going to have this tape so that everyone can hear about all of your groups as well. I appreciate all that you do. And if you guys would like to unmute and just, well, you can't for just a second here, but you can now. If you'd like to unmute, you're welcome to. And thank you all for being a part of this and have a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank
everybody.
you,
Good night.
everyone. Amazing.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Have
Take care of
you.
yourselves.
Bye.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.